This is Rockin' with J-Man, and today I'm interviewing Ryan Roxie. So how you doing today, man?
What's happening, Jam Man, aka Ramsey?
Nothing much, just it's a nice morning for where I am right now. So yeah, and now I'm here speaking with you.
That's cool. I'm actually a few hours ahead of you. I'm down here in South Africa, so I'm not sure what the weather's like for you, but you're probably still enjoying summer where we're getting into winter, so everything's pretty much opposite.
It's all just thunderstorms for this week, but yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
So you actually had an AI version of yourself interview the real version of yourself. What was that like?
That was cool. It was kind of freaky, but I mean, I did it a while back now. It was for the preparation of the first single I had put out this year, or maybe it was early sometime last year. It's all starting to come together and fade one into the next. But yeah, I've put two new songs out, which is now on a 7 inch. And in order to promote that song Better Than You, that first one, we had an AI version of me through different eras, different ages, and some of it had me with dreadlocks. And our producer Vic Chalfant, that produces my podcast, he did a really good job of the uh, getting the graphics together, and then you had to sync the graphics and hook it up into an AI sort of bot, and then it actually nailed my voice pretty strikingly, pretty eerily accurate as how close it was to just basically having a conversation with myself.
Now, Better Than You deals with doom scrolling and judging other people's life through a
Right.
screen. Then you turned around and used an AI version of yourself to help promote it. I actually kind of think
Right.
that contradiction is kind of interesting, though.
Contradiction is what rock and roll is always about, right?
Hmm.
Rock. If you just take the two words rock and roll, it is a contradiction right out of the gate. So yeah, I kind of feel that um, my whole journey with music and my love for rock and roll has been contradictory at times. It's been reaffirming and very. It was contradictory about it now so much that I've been doing it for as long as I have been. Everybody has this perception of what a rock and roller is, and the later you get in your career and you start hanging out with these guys like I do that are household names, for instance, my boss, Alice Cooper, you realize that that whole thing about, just being reckless and wild and making bad decisions has nothing to do with the guys that are actually still doing it on a high level. Again, like Alice Cooper or like the guys that I've been able to play with over the years. So there is contradictory in that because you'd think of just a bunch of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I'm not saying that that doesn't exist in the world at all, but I'm saying there's a lot more uh, pensive, uh, cerebral thinking in a lot of musicians and rock and rollers than we get credit for.
Now, where do you personally draw the line between using AI as a tool and letting the computer become the artist?
A good question. These are all good questions so far, Ramsey. The
Thank you.
thing is, did AI help you ask these questions?
No, I actually researched these ones.
Well, then, good man.
I appreciate it.
Um, because the thing is, AI, like anything else, whether it's digital recording, whether if you want to go back step by step, our 4 track recording that I sort of started recording music on, all the plugins, all the tools that we have to make music is again nothing more than a tool. You The one thing I've noticed that AI can't do, it can't put the soul and heart into it. And I think a lot more musicians are starting to notice it, and hopefully that will uh, carry on with just people that love to listen to music. They'll start hearing that AI music does have a little bit of soul missing from it. And not to say that it won't happen someday when, AI figures it all out and has the experience, but there's a certain amount of soul that you can't replicate with AI. So you use it as a tool, just like you would a plugin, or you would use, back in the day, people would freak out, that when they were recording records to begin with, going from 2-inch tape to now just strictly digital. I think people would be just as dumbfounded with AI helping out with it as they would today with AI helping out with the song. So I kind of draw the line at, if you can use it and use it as a tool, and don't let it help what you're creating, then that's a good line to keep. So for instance, if it helps you with a word here or there to say, okay, I have a good line, here's my line, give me some options for it, and it shoots back 20 options, and one of them you kind of go, that's cool, and you take it and you kind of make it your own,
Mm.
then that's using it as a tool. If you just type into it, type me all the lyrics for the song, then you're going to eventually you're going to eventually figure out that it's not a human that wrote it, and it's not a human that came up with it. So I mean, again, it's a feel thing right now, and I feel a lot more musicians are starting to hear the difference between AI music and organic music. And in a way, I only think it's going to help out musicians in the future, because if you can do this and you can do it live and you can pull it off, a great song is going to be a great song. Every song is going to sound great on the radio, or going to sound great in your headphones, when you're streaming it on your computer or on your phone, but not every song is going to be able to sound great live. And that's what us musicians that are, have been doing it for a bunch of years have known all along.
Now we're getting to a point where you can hear a singer and not know if they actually sang it, and hear a guitar part and not know if somebody really played it. Now, could AI actually become kind of like a real musicianship more valuable, like make it more valuable? Because eventually people are going to be questioning if you can even do this.
Again, I feel that, like, I can hear an AI voice now, and I actually know the Suno voices at this point. You can recognize them, because you recognize AI because it's so unrecognizable. If that makes any sense at all. Now, could AI take a famous vocalist's voice and just replicate it note for note? Probably, just like they did with my interview. But then, how is that recognizable voice and that persona? How is the AI version going to go on a world tour and going to sort of, at the end of the day, you're still reaching your fans through a very organic process. You're playing for them. They're seeing you play. So not every single performance now is the best way to make a lifelong fan is to play songs in front of them. And I don't think, for this, at least for the future, the immediate future, that AI is going to be able to accomplish that yet.
Now, could you see Alice Cooper using AI as part of an actual stage show?
Um, I think you could see elements of video elements that were created and helped out, and yeah, I could see that happening. But at the end of the day, Alice didn't use video and didn't have video in his shows all for so long. I mean, he did in a very, like, old school way back in the day before anybody else did with Welcome to My Nightmare. Then he kind of didn't. Then he just relied on uh, the band and the shows, and he's done that ever since I've started playing with him in '96. Um, we've always focused on the theatrics, but real theatrics and stuff that's going on stage with the band. Now, the last few years, we've gotten into video because it just is the natural progression. Um, and again, the show becomes bigger because of it. But I would say most of the theatrics, or all of the theatrics, are still performed on stage. They're just magnified by the video cameras because we have so much live camera action going on. There's not as much uh, video content. So that's that. I would say that's a little bit of a difference with Alice. Is with him using video, he uses it way more for just making the show bigger. Because at the end of the day, he wants people watching the show, not the content or the AI created content that's going on in back of him as a backdrop.
Better Than You came out in 2025, and then Fight Another Day came out this year.
That's
Obviously,
right.
you're still touring the world playing Alice Cooper music, but you keep writing your own stuff. When you come up
Yes.
with something like great, how do you know that it's a Ryan Roxie song instead of something you should bring to Alice?
Huh. I feel that any song that I write could become an Alice Cooper song when he puts his voice on it. The second Alice sings on one of your demos, he sings on one of your songs, it immediately becomes an Alice Cooper song because his voice is so identifiable. His persona sort of just latches onto it. And there have been a bunch of songs that I actually wrote specifically for my own band, but I played the riff for Alice, and then it became an Alice Cooper song. One of the newer songs on the last Alice Cooper album we did called Road, there's a song called All Over the World, and the riff was specifically I wrote it for one of my own solo projects, maybe turning it into a song. He heard it, he liked the riff, then he wrote lyrics around that, and it became the song All Over the World. And another example of that was between high school and old school. That song, I had the title, I had the riff, and I played it for Alice. It was going to definitely be a Roxy 77 Ryan Roxie song. And then before you know it, Alice heard it and turned it into a song that appeared on the Eyes of Alice Cooper album.
Now, there's a line in Fight Another Day that caught my attention. You say something like Dreaming 94 and later Fearing 21. Now, those are really specific years. So, who was Ryan Roxie in 1994 and what happened in 2021 that led into that changed from dreaming into fearing?
Well, I think the years, if you go back and you follow how old I was at the time, I'm Dreven 94. I was having a pretty good time. It was a pretty big party back in 1994 for me. I was it was 2 years before I actually joined Alice Cooper. I had been playing with Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses. My first real big taste at worldwide touring. I had toured before with a band called Electric Angels, who subsequently we were all met through a band called Candy, and Gilby and the guys from Electric Angels. We all had played together anyway, so it was a very cool. It was back in the Los Angeles, um, for lack of a better term. I mean, it had been the 80s had been a really good time for us, the Los Angeles music scene. I had moved to New York and subsequently moved back to Los Angeles. And when I moved back to LA, that's when I started playing with Gilby again. And those years were just full of a lot of fun, a lot of partying, and good times. And that's why I said, I'm dreaming 94. And then fearing 21, well, we all kind of know what happened in 2020, 2021, especially your generation. You guys lost a couple of years out of there. We almost lost a whole, what was it, 18 months or something like that of touring. We did tour in the very beginning of 2020, but toured at the end of 2021. So, but there was a time there where we did not tour, and uh, that was fear, man, because all of a sudden you're faced with the fact that, wow, are we going to be able to do this anymore? So that was the big C word that I like to call it the dark times. But luckily, um, you and I are here to talk about it.
Now, you're known first, obviously, to a lot of people as Ryan Roxie, Alice Cooper's guitarist, but you're obviously still writing and releasing your own songs. Has the biggest accomplishment of your career ever make it harder for people to notice another part of you that you still want them to hear?
Well, You could look at it that way, or you could look at it, does the thing that people know me most for, which I would assume would be being the guitar player for Alice Cooper, does that open the door? Can you use that as leverage to have people listen to your own music and other projects that you have got going on? And that's the way I choose to look at it. I always say that Alice has done nothing but open doors and create opportunities for me to be a musician for most of my life. You know, he's helped me see the world playing music, which is a great way to see the world. If you get the chance, I highly recommend it, because every single night when we come into town on tour, it's a Friday night. Whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, it's a Friday night. Everybody has waited days, months, years to see Alice Cooper, the Alice Cooper show. So those opportunities um, open doors for when they come to see the Alice Cooper show. Who's that guy over there spinning around, putting on a show on stage right? Okay, Ryan Roxie. Alice introduces everybody in the band. He gives everybody spotlight. So people get their chance to find out who I am, and then they go on my website. You know, they go on Ryan Roxie. They Google Ryan Roxie, and they go, "Hey, I like what he's doing." I'm very happy that whatever people how whatever avenue people find out about me is able to open other doors and go, oh, I didn't know he had a podcast. Oh, I didn't know. You know, some people. You know, the coolest thing for me ever. One of the coolest things for me ever was being in Los Angeles and uh, sitting in line at Starbucks, and the guy came up to me and goes, "Hey, man, uh, I just want to say I really, really enjoy your work." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much," thinking that he knew me from Alice. He goes, "I love your podcast. I listen to it every week." And I was like, "What? So you know me from the podcast? That's killer. Thank you." So little things like that are always cool. But yeah, we're all well aware that most people know me as the guitar player from Alice Cooper, and I will proudly be his stage right guy until Alice decides he wants to retire. And hopefully that's not for a long, long time.
Now, you've been in Alice's world on and off since 1996. At some
True.
point, does that term hired gun almost stop making sense?
I think the term hired gun is relevant for sure, because we are, at the end of the day, that's the reason why um, we're able to tour on the level we're able to tour, because and we've been together as long as we have been. The lineup that we have has been so consistent for so many years, just because we all know whose name is up on the marquee. Um, but Alice always likes to treat us on stage as a performing band, not a hired gun. There's no tape where you can't go in front of this area. There's no area, there's no places on stage where you can't be. The only reason why you shouldn't be on stage in Alice's Way at a certain time is for fear of him stabbing you, thinking you might be a balloon in School's Out, or having some sort of prop, or having cold Ethel getting thrown upon you. Uh, and you just got to stay out of the way of Alice doing his show. But he wants you to do your show as well, and especially when you got a guitar solo or you have some moment to shine in the set. Alice gives full spotlight to that, and he gives full credit. So you never feel like a hired gun when you're on stage with Alice.
Now, because you're not just showing up, you're learning the songs and just not just collecting a check. You've written with Alice and you recorded with Alice and you spent decades helping carry that live music. Where would you say is the line between somebody's being somebody's employee and becoming a part of that creative history of that artist?
I think that's up for the fans to decide. I think the fans and supporters that have been following us for years and years, I think they realize that there's a certain consistency that has value if you've played in that band as long as we have, and as long as this lineup's been together. So that's really not up for us to decide. I can only hope that the legacy uh, is sort of represented proudly and people look at it and they go, "Man, that's the Alice Cooper legacy." Because that's sort of our job, is to make every era of Alice Cooper shine at a live show. And hopefully, by doing that, we play those songs that the way the original band or whatever lineup Alice had at that time that he put the album out, we play it in the same spirit, meaning that we play, we try and put the same parts, the same effort, the same uh, tones all together to make those songs shine. And by doing that, hopefully people give the respect and give us the respect of this lineup that it deserves, because I'm really proud of it, and proud of all the musicians that I've been able to play with over the years.
Now, Road was made around Alice's current touring band. Then The Revenge of Alice Cooper reunited the original Alice Cooper group.
Yeah.
So within a couple of years, we got completely two different versions of what an Alice Cooper band could mean. Where do you think the current touring band belongs in Alice Cooper history?
Um, the funny thing is that, like, I hope it all blends together into one rock and roll, like, journey and one rock and roll roller coaster, um, because we have been together as this unit for so long, in this core unit, myself, Glenn, Tommy, Chuck, Nita's been with us for so long as well. Now we have Anna. This lineup has been together actually longer than the original band, but uh, we never ever think that the original band, we know that the original band is the reason why we're able to tour this day. So we always give them the respect and credit that they deserve, because that original band, if they didn't have uh, those, they didn't write those amazing riffs and songs, we wouldn't be touring today. So I'd like to think that the OGs, they own it, and everybody will always love the original band. But I'd also like to think that this lineup and this band definitely uh, shines every night, and it's quality and consistency, and it's definitely a good time if you come out to a show.
Now, do you think rock history sometimes underrates the musicians who come in later and keep legendary artists alive for another 20 or 30 years? Because fans still remember that original lineup, but when somebody still has to go out there day and night and make those songs sound great every night.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if well, I don't think there's any disrespect going on. It's just that they realize that, if you played on an original recording of those songs, then that you earned your place in rock and roll history. Now, if you're out there supporting it and making it happen and making the live show happen, you obviously earned it as well. I mean, a good example is the band Foreigner. We played a few shows with them over the summer in Europe, and I'm not sure if there's an original member right now in that lineup. There was, the guitar player had done it for some years when they reformed, but I think currently there's no original members in there. But it doesn't matter, because the songs, the way they present the songs, is so powerful, and because they've been doing it for so many years, people accept that as the lineup that it is, because they do such a great job of representing those songs.
Now, Alice has said you've have basically never had a bad show. Now, that obviously sounds like an
That's a
incredible.
lie.
That's a
That's,
lie.
well, yeah, because I mean, how can you not have a bad show over, how would you say what is a good show then? You have something to compare to. They can't, every single show can't be amazingly killer great. And I would go so long to say is that we have not had a perfect show yet. We've had close to being up, like, oh my God, everything fell in line tonight. But there's always something, man. It's rock and roll. Something has to fuck up in order for it to be a show. So you can't, and like you say, you never had a bad show. Um, I look, you got to love Alice for saying that, because that's just his confidence and his trust in the band. I know when I have a bad show. I think everybody that's in the band personally knows when they have a bad show. But here's the thing: I can have a bad show, but it doesn't mean that the band or the whole Alice Cooper show was a bad show, because everybody picks up for everybody else. Everybody, if someone drops a note, someone someone's amp goes off, someone falls flat on their face. All these things have happened on stage and at live shows. There's always someone there to fill it up and to pick it up. So you know what, Alice, you're I respect it. The Alice Cooper band has never had a bad show. Ryan Roxie, he's had bad shows.
Now, what do you think musicians misunderstand about getting a huge hired gun gig? Because getting hired once is impressive, but keeping one for decades seems like a completely different talent.
Or continuing to get higher
Yeah.
higher gigs, whether you're just working musician. I think what was the question? Musicians don't
Understand,
value
misunderstood.
understand, because I think what they might misunderstand is that they think, oh, you just have to be a great musician to get hired and gun, and you have to have luck and be a great musician. And I'm not saying that you don't have to have luck, and I'm not saying that you don't have to be good, because you have to. Everybody's good. Everybody can be proficient. It's the little things. It's the little things that I think are more important in getting a gig like this. It's the hang. It's how to hang out on a bus. It's how to show up on time. It's how to be prepared. Like, it's how to be ready for when something does inevitably go wrong, and be able to pivot really quickly and find a solution of how to fix the show, or fix your instrument, or fix the song. So again, all those little things are the things that keep hired gun guys working, especially if you've been doing it for a while, like myself.
Now,
Show up on time. Show that so too many people don't realize that showing up. One thing I've learned from Alice: 5 minutes early is 5 minutes late.
what actually kills a major touring gig faster? Playing badly, showing up unprepared, ego, or just being flat out rude?
Um, well, I think ego is everything, because ego will make you rude. Ego will make you think that you're good enough not to prepare. So keep your ego in check. And ego will actually make you not be able to hang on the bus with the others, which is one of the most important things about being in a band. Is you might as well just be a solo artist at that point and hope that it all works out for you. But yeah, ego is probably the biggest thing of keeping your lifeline going and stuff. So I don't know who you're pointing to right there, but I see some Tom Petty over there. Oh, you moved. Tom
Well,
Petty was good with his ego. I'm telling you,
yeah.
he had his ego in check. He had a great band as well. Love it.
Now, you're playing to next to one of the biggest personalities in rock history. How do you go about of having enough ego to walk on a stage and kind of own it, but not have so much ego that you forget whose name is on that ticket?
That's the fine line I always talk about between confidence and arrogance. It's such a fine line, but you got to have confidence, but you can't have arrogance. The second you're arrogant, especially with someone that's done it all and accomplished it all, and someone as big a personality and is so secure in his own ego as Alice, it's not going to happen. So again, confidence is a must. Arrogance is a must not. And again, here's the best way to prove that and to live it every single day. You're unapproachable on stage, you're approachable off stage. That's the way I try to view everything at. When Alice is on stage, nobody wants to fuck with him. Hopefully, when people are up on stage with me, and if someone was to jump up and get rowdy with me, they'd have a guitar upside their head. I hope they feel that intimidated, that you're that unapproachable, because at that point, you're doing your thing. You're Ryan Roxie playing guitar on stage with Alice Cooper. You're shining. But the second you get off stage, you better shake those fans and supporters' hands. You better go out and say thank you for listening and coming to the show, because they're the people that got you there. Again, unapproachable on stage, very approachable off stage.
Now, when you first joined Alice in 1996, this was supposed to be a much shorter chapter of your life. So, what
Yeah.
was the first moment when you realized that this is not another gig anymore and this could be something serious?
I'm still realizing it every single year when the phone rings and they say, yeah, we got another year of dates in line. It was you're exactly right. It started. I was only promised a 1 year tour with Alice Cooper because he was dipping his toe back in the touring waters and he didn't know if he wanted to continue to tour, but he wanted to try a tour. And we toured around the U.S. with the Scorpions, and then we went to Europe. And more he liked it, he liked it, he liked it, and never took a year off. So as you know, and I wasn't playing with him the entire time because other opportunities, other things in life sort of opened up as well. I took a year off when my first son was born. I played with Slash and Slash's Snake Pit for a while, but Alice continually toured every single year since '96, and I'm very fortunate to be around for most of those years during that time. So yeah, I kind of knew something after like the first 5 or 6 years. I was like, well, man, he doesn't want to stop. He wants to keep going. So we kept going, and then when we got that Motley Crue World, their final tour, which I guess they're still doing the final tour because I see tour dates for Motley Crue all the time now. Um, but when we got that Motley Crue world tour, that was a big momentum shifter as well because we went out and opened up and supported Motley Crue every single night, and we gained a ton of new fans, and that sort of brought Alice up a couple notches and levels as far as this like, oh, who is this band that Alice has got night after night? They're just hitting it hard.
Then you already mentioned this before, but you stepped away from Alice for your
Yeah.
family. Now, everybody talks about what musicians sacrifice to get the dream job, but very people talk about having the guts to leave one and walk away from one. So, what would you say was harder, joining the band or leaving it?
Definitely stepping away for a while was a tough one. I knew that I wanted to watch my kids grow up during those years, so it was the right decision. It wasn't easy to make that decision, but I'm glad I listened to the advice. It was Eddie Ojeda from uh, Twisted Sister, guitarist from Twisted Sister. We were on tour in the UK, and he came. We were having breakfast one morning. He just said, Rox, um, if you have the opportunity to, we were talking about my kids. You just getting, my son was like 1 or 2, and my daughter had just been born. And he goes, if you have the chance to watch them at least for the first few years grow up, um, take that opportunity and do it because um, I didn't. I couldn't do that because that's right when when my kids were growing up. That's right when Twisted Sister was hitting, and we had to be on the road constantly. So that would be my advice to you. And I listened to it, and it meant a lot to me. And it's like, you know what? That's what happened for that time. But that was a hardest decision, knowing it was the right decision, but still a very hard one.
Now, you've played songs like School's Out hundreds and hundreds of times. Those are probably nights where your band knows exactly what's going to come right before your brains even thinks about it. How do you stop an iconic song from turning into muscle memory?
Um, by feeding off the energy of the crowd. You start that opening riff to Schools Out, and you just lock in with 1 or 2 people that are in the audience, and you see them light up, and you go, yeah, they're living that experience of either the first time or the best time that they heard that song. So I'm going to live it through them, and it goes back and forth. And luckily there is muscle memory because if there's not muscle memory, you can't vibe off the crowd like that as much. So, you're sitting there trying to learn your parts if there's no muscle memory. So thank God for the muscle memory, but never it shouldn't feel like it because you should be like again looking at the audience for for that return of that return of rock and roll. That is the beautiful exchange between a musician on stage playing and a crowd hearing it and then giving back their energy. That's the whole synergy of rock and roll, and that's the reason why I think um, rock and roll shows and in music in general keeps going on and will stand, the test of time.
Now, did you ever think when you were young that rock music would become this generational? And what I mean is that where somebody my age could stand next to somebody in their 70s and know the same song every word.
Yeah. I always say that the generational thing with rock and roll is either the result of really good parenting or really bad parenting. And I don't care which one it is because honestly, it keeps people coming to the shows. And when I first started out with this, it was kind of trippy to see like a parent and their kid at a show. That was weird. It's like, oh wow, you're bringing your kids to the show. That's cool. Now it's not uncommon. It happens all the time. We'll see three generations. We'll see these little kids with their parents and then their parents. So they got their grandparents at the show, and three generations is very cool to see at a rock and roll show, and it's very common to see it at an Alice Cooper show.
Now, Alice basically understood branding before anybody called it branding. The name, the makeup, character, guillotine image, and everything connects. What do artists today obsess over building a brand, but still not understand that Alice figured that out decades ago?
Well, it's it's an identity, and he set himself apart. I think that Alice has a very niche part. He owns this, like whether you want to call it shock rock, theatrical rock, whatever little sort of section of rock and roll it is, he owns it and he's the CEO of it. So if you're building your brand, it's great. You have a lot of great content, you have all these great pictures, you're looking cool, but what are you the best at? Are you good at explaining stuff? Are you good at teaching stuff? Are you good at performing in a certain way? Are you the guy with the top hat? Are you the guy with the snake? Are you the guy with the red, white, and blue wristband? What's your identity? How do you and what is your niche? Because at the end of the day, look, it's hard to make something totally new and different, but you can always shift it in just a little bit of a way where it becomes your own. And I think Alice did a really good job of that. He saw with theatrical blending theater and rock and roll together. Him and his manager and the producer, it's between Shep and Bob and Alice. Between those three, they and I'm sure a lot of other combined forces and helping people and great bands put together helped really solidify that niche and that sort of shock rock moniker that he still holds and is king of today.
Now, there are thousands of people online who can play insane guitar parts. When you
Yeah.
first saw Anna, what made you think that she could actually do this job instead of just being great on Instagram?
There's a certain feel that she has in her playing that sounds like someone much older than who she, how old she is. She's 23, but she has the tone and vibrato and feel of someone that's had much more experience. So just the fact that she had that and you could hear it so easy was like, wow, okay, that's something different. And the fact that Tommy vouched for her. Tommy Hendrickson put her in his own band, Crossbone Scully, and when he told me you got to check out this girl's playing, I was like, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna she's gonna kill it. Now the true test is like, can you do the same thing? Can you transcend from your bedroom and an iPhone to 10,000 people, 15,000 people, 60,000 people. And that's a huge jump that Anna was able to make this year because it was her first time playing these huge festivals like Grass Pop and Hellfest. And she just delivered. And that's a true test. You never know, if you can do it until you actually do it. And when you get the opportunity, make the most of it. And that's exactly what Anna's did, and that's what she's doing right now. So I think that's a good advice for anybody is like, prepare yourself physically, mentally, mechanically in your room so that you are, when that shot does happen, you make the most of it.
Now, when somebody that young walks into a gig you've been doing for decades, do you try to give them every lesson you learned, or do you know that some things can only be taught by screwing themselves up?
Yeah, you said it exactly. You gotta let you gotta give advice when it's really needed. Don't don't try to show don't try to teach someone your experience because your experience has nothing to do with their experience. Their experience is going to be completely different, regardless, even if it's under the same circumstances. There can be similarities, but like when you see someone really um, challenged with a certain situation, just go, hey, you know what? When I went through this, this is what happened to me. Maybe it'll help you. But with Anna, we haven't had to do that much at all. We've given little pointers here or there, but it's mostly her getting in a really good position, being in a really good position because she's got a great band that she's joined in already. We're already like a well-oiled machine. She's just fit right in, and it kind of just took off from there.
Now, I'm from a generation where if I want to learn something on the guitar, drums, or anything like that, there's almost over 500 videos showing me exactly how to play it. When you're,
Thank you. I use them too. To this day, whenever there's an Alice Cooper tour and there's a new song that's in the set that I haven't learned yet, I'll have some 15-year-old kid teach it to me usually.
when you were learning and you had to put on a record and figure it out. Now, does having every answer available for young musicians like people like Anna make them better faster, or does it make it kind of harder for them to develop their own sound?
Mm. Yeah, these are good questions, Ramsey.
Thank you.
I feel that I feel that it's again tools. YouTube is an amazing tool used correctly, um, because you can learn uh, so many shortcuts. I mean, that's what my guitar system is based off of. It's called the System 12 guitar method, and it's based out of all the shortcuts that I've learned. So if you want to, learn guitar, learn at whatever pace you want to, but if you go check out certain YouTube videos or you go check out my guitar course, you're going to get all the guitar hacks possible. So I think that helps out a lot. It's just taking the ones that you benefit you and hopefully not going down the rabbit hole because I have that. I'm guilty as anybody for going down YouTube rabbit holes a lot, whether it's guitar playing or whether it's polishing silver jewelry. I end up usually going down some sort of rabbit hole. Sometimes you have to just pull yourself out of it and say, look, this is what's going to, this is what, how I can benefit as a guitar player from this lesson, this one YouTube video. And this is the one element of that video I'm going to take and then put it into my own playing. I think that helps.
Now, and also another thing, because if you learn something wrong off of a record in 1985, there was no way somebody could jump into your comments and just belittle you. Now, what I think is another thing that's a big factor on why musicians from my generation don't come out as much is that you can make a small mistake and there's going to be thousands of people in their comments calling you an idiot or just saying you're awful at what you're doing. And like, I mean, like you said, I had great questions throughout this interview. I might have mispronounced a word just like right there. Somebody's going to be in these comments. I don't even know how this kid got an interview. He can barely speak. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you want some advice, uh, don't don't be fooled by the comments. There was usually criticism never comes from above. That's a good way of looking at things. So yeah, if someone's really truly trying to help you and give you constructive criticism in the comments, great. But mostly just the hate and the jealousy and the sort of FOMO, and they're not there but you are right now. Criticism never comes from above. Just remember that. And the people and the people that you're aspiring and the level that you're aspiring to get is always higher. You're not aspiring to go lower. Hopefully, you know.
Now that you're teaching guitar through System 12, what was harder? Learning the guitar yourself or learning how to explain something you've done naturally for decades to somebody who can't even do it yet?
Maybe that's my superpower is being able to explain things I think rather fundamentally simple. I
Hmm.
try to really not dumb it down, but make it cohesive so that you see the logic in what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, it's I kind of put math and music in a very easy to understand, simple type of system. That's why it's called System 12. In music, there's only 12 notes. There's only real seven whole notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if you take their sharps and flats, all the notes in modern music add up to 12. And the guitar is easily explained, and I do it in the first couple lessons. I explain how the guitar is laid out because sometimes it can be very intimidating if you look at a guitar neck. But I think I have a way of explaining it and showing someone that, look, oh, so it is only 12 frets until the guitar repeats itself for another 12 frets, usually, if you have a 24 fret guitar, um, but a 24 fret neck. So again, I think the best way to if you're thinking about playing guitar and diving into it, the best thing to do is just go on to my website, ryanroxie.com, and check the first couple lessons out for free because I have them posted up there, or just Google Ryan Roxie System 12. And if it's for you, great. If it's not, hopefully there'll be somewhere on YouTube that is, because I know there's a lot of great teachers out there, a lot of great different methods out there, but hopefully you'll find the one that works for you the best.
Now, can you actually teach somebody's taste?
Taste, huh? Huh. Um, you'd like to think that you could steer them in the right direction of like something that you think is cool, but again, what I think is tasteful might be the most distasteful thing to someone else. So taste is one of those subjective things that you know it's like that whole thing you can't teach class, but hey, some people think is classy, other people think is trashy. So again, going back to the contradictions.
Now, I want to go back to Electric Angels because that history of that era gets simplified into Nirvana showed up and killed all those hair bands. Now, you actually lived through it. Is that what really happened, or is that just the clean version people repeat now?
I think a lot of things as far as the hair metal morphing into grunge, there's definitely a lot to be said about that album. Nevermind. I remember when it came out, and it was life changing. As far as when I first heard it, I remember where I was when I heard it, and I remember thinking like, shit, this is like my favorite band, which has always been Cheap Trick. This is like a Cheap Trick record, but with really heavy distortion and on steroids, and it's killer. It had I didn't know the term grunge at that point, but I also knew that what was happening in the you know hair metal scene, because that it had gotten labeled at that point. Before it was called hair metal, it was just a bunch of bands that people liked, and Guns N' Roses was probably at the forefront of it, and then a bunch of bands that like started blossoming from there, and going off into different subgenres, if you will. um, it had gotten labeled as basically hair metal, but then once it got labeled, it was like, okay, well, now people are on to something new. Just like once grunge got oversaturated and you started buying, uh, you know, T-shirts of a grunge band at a Kmart, or, or a Walmart or whatever, and they didn't even know what that band was, then it got oversaturated and it moved on to something else. So yeah, I would just say it was a natural progression that music was going to be ahead of me, because there was always a bit of punk and attitude in rock in the 80s type of, uh, lack of a better term, hair metal, that you like. Because I mean, look, I was playing in that whole. I was entrenched in the glam metal, hair metal, if you will, Los Angeles scene. I was going to Cat House every Tuesday. Ricky and Tammy are, good friends of mine. And we would go to the Cat House every single Tuesday. It was a great lifestyle. I was telling you about 94, but this was even earlier. It was like 84, 85, great years. And we would always have an element of the Ramones in us, of some sort of T-Rex, Ramones, Sex Pistols. We would always play a couple of those and have those songs, or have that sort of energy in the music we were writing at the time.
Now, Electric Angels had Atlantic Records, and you guys had almost everything a young band thought was the finish line. And then you found out it wasn't. Now, did that band teach you that getting signed and actually making it are completely two different things?
Well, that band, the Electric Angels, taught me everything that I knew about, uh, rock and roll up until that point. It was my first time for so many things. First time going on a real tour. First time going to Europe. We recorded the album in England. So there was first time, getting signed, first time getting dropped, first time for everything in my musical journey. But that being said, yeah, it was one of those things that you realize that it's not just, you can't just be a really good band. You have to have so many other elements that, that sort of all collide at one point. You have to have good timing. You have to have a great supportive team with management and a label that really backs you 100%, and doesn't just release your album, because that was a problem at one point too, because Atlantic Records was known at that time for releasing a lot of albums and seeing which ones stuck to the wall and fit. Oh, Skid Row is they're getting a bunch of traction. Let's push that. So it's things like that. And again, I think if you wanted it too much, and you end up being bitter and comparing yourself to all the other bands, that didn't help us. I can tell you that. If us constantly trying to compare ourselves to other bands and their success didn't help the success of that band. Everything that we did that was cool, we kind of did it as a band and on our own. We've all got in a van. We travel up and down the East Coast, shaking hands, uh, you know, going to the after parties, playing the shows, opening up whatever time a band would, whatever time they told us, play all night. Okay, we'll play all night. Open up, you only got 40 minutes. Okay, we got 40 minutes. Make the most of it. So we, again, we had success. Um, I think the true testament to what that success is that today, um, there's a lot of people that still come up to me at Alice Cooper shows and they say, I saw you back in the days with Electric Angels. You were my favorite band. So that means a lot to me when I hear it.
Now, you sometimes you gotta think like if Electric Angels actually went somewhere, you would never have played in Slash, or you never would have probably been in Alice Cooper. So, would you say that one of the biggest disappointments in your career actually led to some of the biggest achievements in your career?
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a great positive way of looking at it. Knowing that whatever situation you're in now will lead you in a positive way to the next situation. If you have that mindset, I think you can't go wrong. And there was plenty of times where it seems things seemed pretty bleak, in my Electric Angels world, but I always kept a pretty positive attitude, I would say. I was never dire. It was always like, well, you know what? Something's going to happen. Something's going to eventually happen. And something eventually did. And again, in a way, I went back to playing with somebody that I had played with years before because they helped me get back into that band, and which was Gilby Clarke. Gilby and I played together with the guys in Electric Angels before Electric Angels. And when I got back with Gilby, he opened the door for Alice Cooper for me. So all these things I tell people at my guitar clinics or when I'm doing interviews, I say, look, the people that you're playing with now, if things aren't working out or there's tension or just things aren't going to happen with the band, at least be civil and cool with each other because I guarantee you, whoever you're playing with currently is going to lead you in some way, shape, or form to your next musical adventure.
Now, everybody likes to ask what it was like working with Slash. Now, you actually wrote with him. What does Slash understand about writing guitar parts that people trying to sound like Slash completely miss?
Slash is just one of those guys that has a very unique sense of timing. That's why I think the first Roses record, Appetite for Destruction, is so great because Steven Adler had that was right lockstep with Slash. They both had this crazy sense of timing, offbeat, like on top of the beat, energy that had a punk rock sort of vibe, but still made it rock and roll. And then of course Axl's voice was phenomenal on that record. So and the songs were great. So um, I think Slash, the way he writes riffs is something that you can't teach. You can try and sound a little bit like it, but that sense of timing and the feel that he has for the Les Paul and the classic Marshall Les Paul sound, it's definitely unique, and that's what again takes him apart from the crowd because because it's so when you hear someone play like Slash, and you know whether it's Eddie Van Halen or you know for me it's I have like guitar players like Neil Giraldo. It's like in Steve Stevens. It's like when I hear them play, I can tell it's them playing. Whenever you have that identifiable sound with your own playing and your vibrato and your technique, then it's something that's you're going to be set apart, you know, from the rest.
Now, here's another thing I think people overlook. You already have gigs of thousands of guitarists would call it dream, yet you still release your own music. You teach, you do things in the trenches, and keep creating other things. Now, what I'm trying to say, are you naturally just somebody who can't sit still, or did the music business teach you never to let just one gig become your entire identity?
Well, I feel that Alice Cooper, playing with him for all these years, I've seen him have that sort of great white shark mentality that he never stops moving, he never stops creating, and I like to have I would like to think I have that same sort of mindset. Although there are times where I can totally chill. There's weeks that can go by where I don't even pick up the guitar. I'm doing something. I'm into gardening or something like that. I mean, maybe not weeks, but you know, I can go by days without even picking up the guitar. So I do have a lazy sloth element to me went from time to time. But at the end of the day, I always want to be creative. I like to think of an idea, make it into a reality. That's why I even had this album. My last full length solo album was called Imagine Your Reality. It's like it's having a thought and then making it, thinking it through, and then making it become a reality. Make it a tangible, whether it's an album, whether it's a song, whether it's a video, whether it's you know whatever it is, whether it's a product, whether it's an instrument, you make your dreams become reality. And I know it might sound a little bit of Willy Wonka ish, but you know, have we are the dreamers, and we are the dreamers. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of the dreams. That's the quote from Willy Wonka, by the way. That's the '70s version, not the Johnny Depp version, by the way.
Now, Alice obviously isn't acting like somebody who plans on retiring as of now, but unfortunately, nobody can
Let's
tour
hope
forever. So, do you consciously build the rest of Ryan Roxy so that whenever that day unfortunately comes, you aren't going to be sitting there and wondering, "Oh my God, who am I without him? Who am I without Alice Cooper?"
well, we are definitely going to be associated with him for the rest of our careers, regardless, and we're very proud of that. But you do think of things, okay, well, and that's why you're doing stuff constantly. It's why you are constantly writing your own stuff, or or uh, jumping into different projects because you want to also not be left, like, well, when Alice decides that it's time to retire, you don't want to be left like, well, what now? You want to have like, well, this is what's now, and even though and you've prepared for it, you've thought about it. You're never going to be prepared for not touring because it's all we've ever known. It's all we've ever known with Alice. I haven't known Alice when he's not touring, so. Like I said, we're just happy to be part of that legacy. Hopefully, um, we're writing that legacy out until again it's his decision, and like we're happy to be along for the ride right now.
Now, would you even want another huge hired gun gig, or would that finally be the point in your career where you would just put everything in your name?
I think you're always looking, like, you're weighing out what opportunities come along. I mean, it's hard to go from where I've been playing with Alice for so many years, and having the greatest front man I feel in rock and roll as your that's my guy, that's my singer. Where do you go from there? But you know what? I'm sure there's a band out there that if they said, hey, you know, what are you doing now, Ryan Roxie? Um, I'm not gonna not say no, no, no. I'm gonna do my own stuff for here and forever. No, you take every phone call, just like you always have as a musician. You look at every opportunity and see what benefits the whole journey. Again, like it's and again, I don't want to sound like corny when I say journey, but this whole thing is a one big rock and roll roller coaster ride, and like ride it till the end.
Now, after all the bands, records, tours, mistakes, and everything you've accomplished, what are you still chasing?
Um, I'm not, I don't know at this point, Ramsey, if I'm chasing anything. It's just that I want to make sure that what I leave behind, walk away from, legacy wise, um, is it gives a good feeling in people's minds. Yeah, maybe not my cup of tea, but I respect the fact that he did it, and he did it at a high level for as long as he did, and I think that's what we're at this point you're chasing when you get a little bit older, because you've done your records. You want to do more. You want to continue to make more great records, because you never know when that next breakthrough one will happen. If it does, if it doesn't, it's okay too. But I don't know. You just want to make people have a. I feel as an entertainer, you want to have people happy, and because making people happy and making people feel entertained is what makes us happy as entertainers and performers. I feel.
Now, road
Or makes you think. It again makes you think. That's another important thing that I think within when you write songs and lyrics, is that if you can make people think and make people sort of like go, okay, I didn't think of life that way, then that's rewarding too. But again, like I said, I like to entertain. I like to see a smile on people's faces, and I've always done that. So you know that's what I continue and strive to do.
Now, Rhodes showed the entire current touring band can make an entire Alice Cooper record. Now, the Revenge of Alice Cooper showed that the original band can still make one together. Now, I know we mentioned this before in the interview, and hopefully, like you said, could you ever see these two worlds colliding on the same album?
On the same album would be really cool. I would love to record some more songs with the OGs. They were great. I was able to tour with them back a few years ago when we toured the UK, and I filled in for Glenn Buxton because Glenn Buxton unfortunately has passed away for many years now. But I basically had the best seat in the house to watch the original Alice Cooper band and play those parts. It was an honor, and I would love to see an album again, a collaboration between the OGs and this current live Alice Cooper lineup do something. It would be great. But that's always up to Alice, and Alice is, again, that great white shark. He's always swimming, so we'll see what happens.
Now, if you were on death row, what would your final meal be?
Final meal, huh? God damn. You went dark on me, Ramsey. Uh, I, I can't tell you what the final meal was, and hopefully I'm not on death row. Uh, I can't think of why I would be on death row. I don't really feel the need to be a serial killer. Um, Let me see. What would I like to have for dinner anyway? Um, Captain Crunch with crunch berries,
Okay.
just to throw off the whole death row
No,
thing.
no, yeah, that's
It
just
would
like,
have to be with crunch berries, right? It couldn't just be
yeah.
regular stock or peanut butter Captain Crunch. No, it'd have to be with crunch berries.
What's next for you?
Um, What's next for me is taking a little break as far as touring right now because I'm not sure when this with episode will come out, but we've been doing it nonstop since the beginning of the year. There's two Alice Cooper shows going on in 26. There's the Chris Angel Alice Cooper Welcome to Our Nightmare show, and we've been busy with that since January. And then we've been put together another new show called not the Eyes of Alice Cooper, the Alice's Attic, which we've been touring the U.S. and the Europe. So there's a small break right now. That's why I have time to do some podcasts, and it's been great talking to you. And gonna enjoy the time off for a second. And I got some tricks up my sleeve during this break, but some guitars. I've got my eyes on, busy grabbing some new axes for the new tour, and we're going to go back out to do some festivals in the U.S. and then do a U.S. Canada run, and then I think end the year in December with some more Alice Cooper, Chris Angel shows. But in the meantime, I'll be here working on putting together a big sort of what do you call it? What was the thing I was calling a big collection of the best Ryan Roxie photos that I can gather into one sort of area and do something with that and have people sort of be interactive with it and start contributing what they think is their favorite photos of myself and maybe we can make it. That's another little project that I have brewing right now.
Now, on September 22nd, are you playing in Canada or US? Because you're playing right next to me, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's right around. Is it Niagara Falls? Somewhere around there? Is that the Niagara
Yeah,
Falls
Niagara
show?
Falls, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one that's probably going to be. I don't know if it's not a festival. I think that's actually just an Alice Cooper show, right? You have to
Yeah.
check it out.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, it's been a great conversation today, and I really appreciate you for taking the time and coming out here and speaking with me. And just thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure being on my show. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Dude, it's been nonstop jam, man. I feel it. I feel it, Ramsey. You've done great, and I appreciate all the questions. And again, I appreciate your listeners. If they want to again follow their guitar journey and start it at least, go check out ryanroxy.com because you can find out a bunch of stuff about me. Again, the new singles, the 7-inch vinyl is out, and just look for me on tour with Alice Cooper as well. So hopefully we'll see you out there somewhere.
Thank you again. Have a good one.
Have a good one, bud. See ya.
See
Good
ya.
job, Ramsey.
Thank you.
Killer.